Okay. So from last class, we started with the learning about database. How do we build the application database within HANA-base? So as part of this, we started learning about all the objects, database artifacts. So we've seen about schema, and we've been looking at the next one is table. So we just seen how do we create a column store table or row store table. And if given a case that there is already a table existing, and how do we create a copy of the table using like or the subquery. And we've seen about setting up primary key and setting up foreign keys. Yeah. And there's one more I wanted to show you. Last class I forgot. See, if you look at this table, something like say, okay, let's take department. You create this table with how many columns? Department number and department name, right? But actually, apart from the columns what we specified, for every table, internally system will maintain some columns by default. Yeah? And query query is not mandatory. Actually, you'll have a schema called system schema. I told yesterday. In this, I told you there is a view which tells you about all the tables, right? M underscore CS underscore tables. Again, there's one more view, M underscore CS underscore all. You can also write a select on it, but that's okay. But M underscore CS underscore all underscore columns, which will show you, which will give you the list of the columns in a particular table. M underscore CS underscore tables will give you list of the tables available in the HANA database. And M underscore CS underscore all underscore columns will give you list of columns of a particular table. If I just right click and say open data preview, I don't see for all. I want to see it for mine. So let's filter out for my where see field called what schema underscore name. I can also write a select with where class. I can say schema name filter. What is your schema name? Just say 9 cubics. Then say execute. Then within this, which table you are interested in? What was the table? Department, right? What was the table name? Hmm? Okay. Now look, we have two columns, right? DEPTNO and DEPT name. This was a custom, we created the columns. But by default, there are two more columns in the system. See, one is row ID, one is Plex UDIV. So row ID will be a serial number generated for every row. Yeah, and Trex UTF is like unique name maintained by for each row by the system by default. So whenever you create a table, by default there will be these two system columns in the backend. One is Trex UDIV and one is row ID. Yep. This is one is each for different purpose. One is for maintaining a row sequence number, and one is the Trex for the internal understanding. It maintains some junk key for identifying that row. Yeah. Okay.
But do we use like this thing?
Yeah, sometimes I prefer using this one because generally when you want to get the row number of a record, you can either use row underscore number function, okay, or I can also use this column value also. Sometimes when you want to formulate cumulative values of that, I would use to find out unique record. I can use this option. Okay. You remember yesterday when we gone through the PDF, in the syntax of the table we had something called table type. When I went down, I had row, column, global temporary. There are multiple types, right? So we will look at that here. Next, global temporary table. So you know about row store table, column store table, normal tables. Then we still have further type of table as global temporary table. So we can also create a global temporary table with UI or with SQL also. With UI, where do the setting you do is you basically when you say new table, and then okay, there is a tab. What is tab here? Further properties. You see, look at this temporary table type. None means it's not a temporary table at all. That becomes normal row store or column store table, depending on what you select. Okay. Now, if you drop down, then there is option. What is here? Now this becomes it's a column store table, but it's a global temporary table. With UI, you use this option to create a global temporary table. Okay, Ramesh? Activate. Yeah. Actually, for global temporary, primary key undadu. So look at this. It says, look at the syntax. Create global temporary and what? Column table. It's column table, but global temporary it is. Ante. So we use this property temporary table type as global to declare a global temporary table. That is with UI. Okay. If it is with SQL, you do this here. Use the syntax create. Next is you have to specify the table type, right? If it is row, you say row. If it is column, you say column. When you want global temporary column, you say global temporary column. You say. So that part of the syntax is where you specify the table type. Okay, global temporary column, table name, and then the column. Okay, boss. So we know how do we create a global temporary table. That's fine. So I can either create with UI or I can create with what? SQL also. This is a syntax of it. Now, what do you mean by global temporary table? That's what it is. Okay, boss. Now, look at this. Simple. The definition, it's global temporary table. So when you say global, the definition of the table is global for everyone. Everyone can see the definition, but the content of the table is specific to that particular section alone. టేబుల్ స్ట్రక్చర్ అందరికీ కనిపిస్తుంది, దాని లోపల డేటా మాత్రం ఆ సెషన్ వరకే ఉంటుంది అంతే. So for example, now when I opened a SQL editor, this is one session bus, right? Just let me create this table. What is this table name? EMP temp global, right? Now if I go to this, can I see this? I don't know. కొద్దిగా ఈరోజు నాకు mental EMP temp column, okay. So I see this table. So even if there's another user who's got access to this schema, can also see this table. If there's another user who's got access to this schema, you can see the table definition. Then what I'm doing, I'm just inserting. Look at this. I'm inserting 4 records into this table. I'm just inserting how many? I'm just inserting 4 records. Inserted, done. Okay. Now after inserting, I'm just trying to see the records of this table. I'm just trying to read, select star from this table. I'm able to see 4 records, right? Good. Now let me just run, let me open another session, okay, and try to execute this statement, select star from so-and-so table. Our session work our data untumana. But structure is global. Structure, the definition of the table can be used by anyone in any number of sessions, but the content of the table will be specific to that session alone. Our program run in shape like it's almost like global internal table and purpose, something like that. Structure is also temporary. Structure is global, but the content of the table is local, specific to that particular session alone. That is global temporary table. Okay, done. Okay, point in case of global temporary table, you cannot have primary key.
Sir, I have a question over here.
Yeah.
Sir, then what is the use of this temporary table? Just only to handle the structure across this schema we need to maintain?
Good question. So we understood now what is the table. Now in what kind of scenario we will be using this? For example, you are writing some stored procedure. You would like to do some transformation, collect the result into some temporary table, then further do some transformation. In that case, I can use this kind of tables. Like say in ABAP, you use that temporary internal tables, right? We can use this kind of table, something like that. So during the execution of the procedure, you would like to store the result in some table, then further process it, something like that. Then I can use this kind of tables. We don't use this for data storing. We don't use it for storing your data. We use this only for processing data during runtime. That's it. Yeah.
So can we say, in other words, it is kind of the view?
I would say more like a temporary table. See, like in ABAP, how do you have internal table? We'll have a concept of temporary table where during runtime of the program, the table holds the data. Now, once the program is done, the session is out, there will be no data in the table.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
So one more question. What if we want to refer the same data in future?
Then you have to create normal column table. If you want to store data persistently, means permanently, then you have to go either with normal row store or column store. Only when you want to store data permanently only during valid to that session, then you go with global temporary. That's not accepted. I'll tell you why it is. Now that's why I'm coming to that. Okay, now I want you to see this. It's very important. And when you're writing stored procedure, this knowledge is important. When you go to create table, it tells you table type, right? Get into this. And it tells you about different table types. Now here it says global temporary column, right? In the global temporary, I want you to read this. What operations are supported on this table? Can we do insert? Can we do updates? Can we do delete? And a cover. So look at this. Drop supported operations on global temporary table. We can create with or primary key, but there is a different. We need to put hash all those, and we'll see. Then there's something add or drop a primary means we can remove primary key. We can add a primary key. Same we can say unique column also maintain. We can rename a table, add or alter or rename. We can add or add a new column, drop a column, all this can be done. Truncate means the complete table is dropped. Drop also for deleting the table. This is for deleting the table. This is for deleting the data in the table. Okay. We can create or drop a view on top. If there is a view built on top of it, that also can be dropped. We can create a synonym and select. Can we do select into or insert? Yes. Delete, update, upsert. So the select is like reading, delete is like deleting the records, update is for updating the existing record in the table. Upsert is, let's say there is already, if you say upsert, if there's no record with the same combination, it will update, it will insert as a new record. If there's already record with the same key combination, it will update that record. Okay, record it is a combination of insert and update. So is it like normal table? I'm able to do insert, update, delete all this? Yes. Okay, boss. ఎందుకంటే sometimes what happens is you'll have data in the main table. When you're writing stored procedure, you will have to do some manipulations on that column. You have, let's say there is a field with something, but in my logic I just have to refer only the first 5 columns, first 5 string of that column. Then what I'll do, and then I would like to store. Then I'll write a select which will just read only first 4 columns of the table of that column, first four values of that column, then store into temporary table. Then from here I want to do further refer to and use it like an array and then call others and then do some logic. We use this. So we'll see when you go to procedure like table and temporary case, how do we run through the loop and catch hold of each. Once you are able to control each record of a table and then manipulate, you can do any logic, right? Yeah. This is very important. ఇప్పుడు ఇక్కడ పోయి స్కీమ్ ఉంది కదా విత్ కాలమ్స్ అనే దీంట్లో పోయి డేటా చూపించమంటే చూపిది ఏమి అది వేరే సెషన్ ఆ సెషన్ వరకు డేటా కనిపిస్తుంది కానీ టేబుల్ మాత్రం కనిపిస్తుంటుంది ద టేబుల్ డెఫినేషన్ ఇస్ గ్లోబల్ బట్ కంటెంట్ ఈస్ లోకల్ స్పెసిఫిక్ టు దట్ సెషన్ ఇష్టం నీకు ఎట్లా అర్థం చేసుకుని నేనైతే ఆ మాట అన్నాను దిస్ ఇస్ గ్లోబల్ టేబుల్ structure is global but data is local to that particular session. That's what. Yeah. Next was local temporary. That was global temporary. Next is local temporary table. See, you don't have this option while creating new UI lo ledan option. If you go, you only have global or no logging. There's nothing like local. So if you want to create local temporary table, you can't go with UI. It has to be created with SQL only. నీకు తెలుస్తుంది ఎందుకు లాజికల్గా ఆలోచిస్తే ఎందుకు UI లేదు తెలుస్తుంది చూడండి. Now when you say local, see global temporary table. When you say temporary, the data is temporary. And when I say global, the structure is global or not. Now I'm saying local temporary table. What does it mean? Structure and data both are local to this particular session. So you don't get to see this table in this table so that everyone can see. No. Only during this session, this table is allowed. So is it like exactly like your internal table? Only during runtime of the program of that session, the table is created and then you use it. And then once it is done, the memory is lost for. There's no more memory allocated for the table. So definition and data both are local to this particular session in this case. But only the condition is your table name must start with hash. When you're creating a local temporary table, your table name must start with hash here.
I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Sir, anyway, we cannot see anything which is available in the global temporary table which can be seen, right?
Yeah.
So then, what is the point? I mean, what is the difference? I mean,
see,
anyway.
Yeah, I would like to create some structure which must be globally consumed by multiple procedures. But data is local. Then I'll go with global temporary table. If you want to have the table definition created during runtime of the program, then I'll go with what? Local temporary table. Yeah. Like global structures, it will be global. So I would like to have some temporary table, but used across multiple procedures. then I'll go with global temporary tables. But if you want to have some structure of a table which is specifically used only in one particular procedure, which is doing runtime, like internal table, then I'll go with what? Local temporary table.
But then it cannot be used across. You said it cannot be used across
Local
global
you can't
temporary
use
table.
across. Global you can use across, but data cannot be used. The structure of the table can be used across, but data cannot be used.
Okay, okay. So you can use that in different procedures,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Definition can be used, but the content cannot be used.
Content cannot be used. Okay.
Yeah. Now, to do this, for local temporary, you must start with the table with name with hash, and then you create this. The question is, why is that they have not given with UI? Because local temporary is only for that session, right? If I create with UI, you should have to show this here. That's why there's no option with UI about creating local temporary. I create this, I'm just inserting 4 records. Then let's say I execute this, select, I see the record. This is in this system, right? If I copy this and open another session and try to see, in case of global temporary table, when I've run this, it has run the query, it was able to identify the table, but it was showing no record, 0 records. But now see what does this say? అర్థమైందా difference? Table లేదంటారు. In case of global temporary table, it was able to recognize the table, but no data was. But this is not able to recognize the table at all in the other session. So the table would be valid only to that particular session alone. That is local temporary. This is exactly matching to your internal table.
Okay. Okay.
You can't see this table here. It's only existing in this session alone. That's why I can't see that in my left panel. No.
Okay. Similar to temp table concept. Right?
Yeah. And moreover, actually, this may not be so important. Why? Why? Because let's get this. Let's say I have some statement, something like some select statement I've got. Okay. Now I would let collect the result set of the I would let collect the result set of this select statement into one temporary table. I can just say I tab equal to so and so. And this I tab does not need any declaration at all. If I just say I tab equal to so and so, based on the result set, the temporary table is automatically declared. No need to declare. In that case, the declaration of local temporary table may not make sense. But there is a concept of local temporary table. When I do this assignment of result set to a table, automatically based on the result set, the definition of this temporary table I tab is declared automatically. But there is a case from the procedure, if you want to export this table out, then that needs a declaration. The procedure is like your ABAP model, you're writing some code. If you're using the table, temporary table within that code, it does not need any declaration. If you're exporting the content of this table back as an export parameter, that needs an explicit declaration.
Okay.
Okay. Next, logging. Next, the concept property called logging. If you see, this concept called no logging, logging. So you remember we have log volume and data volume. What does log volume say? So whenever you do any changes, it keeps capturing the logs through the logger, and page management, it does collect the logs into what? Log volume. So what is the purpose of that log volume? If there's any problem, I can re-execute those logs and bring the data back to the same status, like to handle the data persistence and data miss కాకుండా ఉండాలంటే logs ఉంటాయి. So it can re-execute those logs and bring the data back to the status what it was when you lost the power. That is, you know about log volume. Our logs undalna, if do you want to maintain those logs on this table or not? And after how many seconds the logs must be cleaned out. That's what we say. Yeah, నాలుగు this. So default, you'll have the logging is enabled on the table. And if you explicitly want to say what we can use the property no logging and say, I don't want any logging on this table. So when you basically specify like this, see, no logging, retention 300 seconds. Retention, even if it maintains logs, after 300 seconds, the logs must be cleaned out from the log volume. Okay, we cannot see that, but by default, logging is maintained. If you don't want if you want the logs to be cleaned out after 300 seconds, then you will say what? No logging, and I want the retention to be only for what? 300 seconds. So after 300 seconds, it will be cleaning out the logs on this table. But inko point is even if the memory reaches 80% of it, then also it cleans it. Okay, boss. After the specified time is done, the table will be dropped if the memory is completely used by what? 80%. If the memory is used by 80%, then this table will be dropped. That is what log. So it does not maintain any logs at all on this table. But even if it maintains logs, we are saying what? The retention is only for 300 seconds. Since there are no logs, when the memory reaches 80% of it, then these kind of tables will be deleted. So any table which has got no logging property switched on, when the memory reaches 80% of it, these tables will be dropped out. But generally, we will not prefer that. We want application table to be completely persistent, whether memory is 80% or 90%. But there is an option like that, no logging. Okay, that's okay.
Using GUI also, you can also have option no logging.
So we see the quick. But in the UI, you can't specify the retention period. You can just say only logging, no logging. By default, it is logging. If you set this object, then there is no logging. It does not maintain any logs. It keeps collecting logs, but after 300 seconds, the logs are cleaned out completely. That's what it says. Okay. Logging at logs maintained log volume. Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a small doubt in case of that global temporary table.
Yeah.
Now, when we are creating a global temporary table, and if we close that session, can we see that global temporary table in the tables list once the session is closed? The structure.
I showed you. No, this is EMP temp global. This is a global temporary table only.
Okay.
We are able to see the structure. No?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Auto merge bus. Merging, you know what merging, right? See, you have to go to the Google. There is one document on merging. SAP HANA Delta merge. So there is a PDF document how to Delta merge on SAP HANA. Just go through this. If you just search for SAP HANA Delta merge, you get this. This is a very good document. Basis all okay, but for me, we have to use this in this case. Now, if you just go down, just understand the importance of merging and background information, all this. You know what? He explains about column store table, saying that it will have a delta table and main table. Write operations are carried out on delta, and read operations are both on delta and main. Okay, and you know this unload means what? The table is unloaded from main memory. What do you mean by partial loading? Only some columns of table are loaded. And what do you mean fully loaded? All columns of the table are loaded into main memory. Okay. Now he explains about delta merging, merge process. Okay, how is actual delta merging is done? Look at this. So let's say you created a table. It will have main one, it will have delta one, and write operations will be going on delta, and read operations are done on main one and delta one. Okay. Now let's say the situation is like this. As of now, main table has got 5 records. In delta, you actually created 3 records. Means you inserted 3 records. You executed commit. Insert record 1, you execute commit. Insert record 2, you execute commit. Insert record 3, you execute commit. So we have 3 committed transactions in delta 1, and at this point of time, still the user who is still writing one record, say insert into this table or something. He is inserting 4th record, but still he has not yet committed. That is the situation. Now you say what? Trigger merging. Trigger the merge. What it does is, it creates another 2 tables. One is 2 tables, 2 storages. One is called main 2 and what? Delta 2. all the transactions from main 1 are directly moved to what? Main 2. And all the committed transactions from delta 1 are moved to what? Main 2. And the uncommitted transaction is moved to what? Delta 2, and where user can still be writing that record. So ultimately, where is all my committed transactions now? Main 2 has got the old records of main 1 and also the 5 records, and the committed 3 transactions of delta 1 is also brought into what? Main 2. Now once that is done and the main 1 and delta 1 are freed up, then ultimately main 2 and delta 2 becomes the main storages of column table. Now again, main 2 will have 8 records and delta 2 will have what? 1 record, which has been committed yet. So they're using this concept of formulating new storage and moving it out because they want to reduce the downtime during merging process. Because during merging, the tables are locked. We don't want the table to be, SAP doesn't want the table to be locked for a longer period. So they want to shift it out. So even when they're shifting from main 1 to main 2, still main 2 will be supplying data to those reporting applications. After it is completely moved, then the storage has gone. So did we reduce only during the switch? When it has switched from main 1 to main 2, we'll have small downtime. Otherwise, rest all time still we're able to do reporting. Yes, brought in main 1 and main 2 and then is moving towards like that because you want to reduce the downtime. Okay? You want to reduce the locking time of this table. Because when I bring in main 2 and at the same simultaneous time when I'm removing data from main 1 to main 2, main 1 will still be giving, look at this, where is I'm reading from? Main 1 is still giving me the data for read operations, right? And delta 2 automatically is enabled for the new write operations. So even during merging process, still I'm able to write, still I'm able to do reading. Only during it is very fast. Only during switch of it. So when you're switching from main 1 to main 2, we have some downtime. Otherwise, during that time the table will be locked. Otherwise, it's no locking of the table. To reduce the, see, you know the process. We have to move the data from delta to main. But to reduce the amount of time the table is being locked, they have brought into this concept. You understood this? So you'll have main delta 1, yeah. So when you perform the merging, what happens? All the transactions from main 1 are moved to what? Main 2. So even at the time when you're moving data from main 1 to main 2, still main 1 is used for what? Reporting. And then from delta 1, all the committed transactions from delta 1 are moved to what? Main 2. Even during the time of moving, still delta 1 is considered for what? Reading operations. During merging, if there is someone else creating a new record, it is still written to what? Delta 2, which is still be accessed by read operation. Now once the delta merging is completely done, so it writes all the committed transactions from delta 1 are written to this. The uncommitted transactions are written to what? Delta 2, because still it's been written. So ultimately main 2 will start getting the entire data, all the committed transactions, the uncommitted are in what? Delta 2. So now the system has to do a switch saying from now don't read, once it is done all this, from now don't read from main 1, it has to read from what? Main 2. It has to do a switch. Then main 2 and delta 2 becomes the main storage. Only doing that switch, the read operations are blocked. Otherwise there's no downtime. And even you don't even feel the timing. You can keep doing reporting, you can keep doing merging, so that's not be a problem. Because while doing merging also, we still are able to read or write this. Okay. So you understood about this merging process, no?
Sir, from main 1 to main 2, all the data will be transferred or only uncommitted
See.
records will transfer?
Let's assume like once again, okay? Let's say let's focus on before merging. What is my situation? I already had 5 records in my table. We insert delta. I already performed merging. Assume my main 1 has got 5 records, and there are 3 transactions in delta 1 for which the commit is already executed, but we have not yet performed merging yet. And there's one more record for which the commit was not yet done. Still, user is in the process of end writing this. So now when you trigger the merging, what happens? Even it creates 2 storages extra. One is main 2 and delta 2. That is one. And then delta 2 is directly enabled for writing from then onwards. During the merging process, every write operation has to be going to what? delta 2. So what it does, so if there's some record which is obviously written off of the way, so those uncommitted transaction from delta 1 is moved to what? Delta 2, so that user can start writing it to delta 2 bus. All the committed transactions of delta 1 and the data what we already had in main 1 are moved to what? Main 2. So now main 2 will get the bunch of records from main 1 and as well as the committed transactions from delta 1. But even during the process of merging this, bringing the records from all this, still the reading is done on main 1, delta 1 and delta 2 and writing is done to delta 2. Now once we finished moving records from main 1 to main 2 and delta 1, committed transactions from delta 1 to main 2, the merging is done, then we have to switch the tables storages from main 1 to main 2, delta 1 to delta 2. That's it. Only during switching there is some downtime, otherwise rest all, even during merging still reporting can be done, still writing can be done, no differences. Yeah. Now once you know about this merging, okay, this is really good important. Merging on partition tables. Suppose if I have a table, I have created partitions on the table. Let's say you will see we'll have hash partitioning, range partitioning, and we'll have round robin partitions and we can create multi-level partitioning also. Suppose if there is a table with 4 partitions, and if I do merging on this, you should refer each partition as a separate table. Partition 1 will have main store, delta store. Partition 2 will have main store, delta store. Partition 3 will have main store, delta. Partition 4 will have main and delta separate. So each partition is like a separate column store table. Okay, boss? So now we'll have different merging types. This is important. We need to know about different merge types. See, when you say merge types, based on the type of merge, functionality will not change. Merging process is one and the same. And taking data from delta to main, is that process is same. When you say merging type, that does not change the process of merging. It's only about triggering. Who is triggering? How is this being triggered? That's it. Yeah? So now look at this. One is the merge types will have two things: automatic system process and what is manual. So when it says automatic system process, if system is triggering the merging automatically, that is automatic triggering. Manual, I go about triggering the merging on the table. That is manual. Ultimately, the concept of merging is all same. They brought in different types of merging based on who is triggering what and when it is been performed. Remember, look at this. In case of automatic system processing, we have two things. One is auto merge and critical merge. Auto merge and what is critical merge? And both are, if it is system, if system has to handle, which is a process in the system which handles the merging? Merge tab. So automatically automated system process auto merge, then critical merge. Auto merge and now what is this auto merge? Okay. So while creating a table, we can basically switch on or switch off the merging. So when you basically enable the auto merge on a table, so it is responsible of the system to trigger the merging. So you'll have a process called merge dog. Merge dog will be scanning through the table. Whenever the table satisfies the auto merge decision function, it will trigger merging on the table. That is what auto merge. So as soon as you enable an auto merge on a table, so system is responsible for triggering merging on the table. So you'll have a process called merge dog, which will be scanning through the table just to find out if there's any table which satisfies the auto merge decision function, which is configured in the configurations. Then only then it triggers merging on the table. Manam server configuration lo so do you have this auto merge? What is this here? Decision. So there is a criteria specified. So what does merge dog will be doing is merge dog will be scanning every table. Whenever it finds any column store table which satisfies this condition, it will trigger merging on the table. That is called as auto merge. Okay, Rabus, yeah. So now, so while creating a table, you can decide whether auto-merge should be enabled or not. Okay, Bus? So whenever you're creating a table, you can decide whether auto-merge should be enabled, so the system should take care, or do you want to take care? Yeah. Then there's something critical merge. Now what is critical merge? Let's say I have a column store table and you have switched off the auto merge. Auto merge switch off in the system is nowhere responsible for triggering merging auto. So and you actually I had to trigger manually. I had to trigger the merging on the table. Even I forgot to do that, and auto merge was also disabled. So there was huge amount of data getting into Delta store, and it reaches to the peak stage where system cannot handle the Delta store table anymore. Then system will trigger merging. That is called critical merging. Okay, was see critical merge is what you have disabled auto merge, so system is not taking care of merging, and actually we are supposed to trigger manually. Even we forgot to trigger manually, and then they've been inserting lot of records into this table, and the size of the delta storage to the reach to the maximum extent that system cannot handle it anymore. Then system will forcefully execute the merging on the table. That is called as critical merging. ఇది చేయకపోతే ఎత్తిపోతున్న సిస్టమ్ అనే టైంలో చేస్తుంది, అది critical merging. Further, there is no system. System will force it to do merging. No condition, nothing. Yeah.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
So who will define this delta tables memory or space?
You will say the decision function, right?
Okay.
So you're saying about who will define this decision function. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So if we don't take care of the memory, it will decide, right? The critical.
Yeah. You're saying where do we decide what is the extreme case you're saying? That's what you say.
Yeah.
So there will be some system limit that we cannot control. There will be some system limitations. As we're discussing, there are some limitations on the database, right? Each table size cannot go beyond 2 TB. There will be some system restrictions. And when it reaches that,
so it will be predefined when we get a HANA package, or how does it work?
Actually, you're supposed to see here in the system's information, there should be some this is status. No, actually, they don't really specify as what is the limitation. But when you're not doing merging, if there is some case that the system is not able to handle it anymore, then it has to do the final trigger. That is called critical mode. This is not that condition.
No, because when do we actually come out?
Explain just a what is it? The complete database. What are the configurations you've done, like auto merge decision function is for entire database, not for one table. Yeah.
So what scenarios are like actually there that we can come to know that we have to manually
First let me explain this for, then I'll come to that in what scenario, which type of merging you will prefer. Yeah. Now next is manual merging. You either you can manually perform a merging on a table either with UI or with SQL statement. You can write a normal SQL statement to perform merging, or with UI. You can right click on the table and you have option like perform merging alone. Hard merge bus. Hard merge ante, see, you should understand two concepts. One is tokenization and actual merging. Ante neighbor anta perform merge on this table anko, that is called tokenization. You have issued a token to perform merging on this table. And as per this token, is it actually performing merging or not? That is the next point. Tokenization is like you're issuing a command, okay, it has to do merging on this table. Based on this command, it is performing merging or not, then it's a different case. That's a two process. One is tokenization and one is actual merging process. When you say hard merge, you issue a token and system straight away performs merging. That is called hard merge. It does not check any condition, nothing is checked. It receives a command. You issue through SQL statement or whatever it is, you say perform merge on this table, which is forced merge. It does not check for any condition, straight away it performs merging on the table. Okay, that is called as what? Sorry, that is called as hard to merge bus. Okay, boss. Then we will come to this first. Then what is this here? Smart merge bus. Again, you through SQL statement you issue a command saying perform merge on this table through smart parameter smart merge on. When it says smart merge, what happens? You issue a token to the system to perform merging on this table, but system will perform merging on this table only if smart merge decision function is satisfied. Smart merge ante you issue a token to the system saying to do merging, but it will perform merging on the table only if this condition smart merge decision function is satisfied. నువ్వు టోకెన్ ఇస్తావు మర్జింగ్ చేయని, కానీ ఆ మర్జింగ్ నిజంగా ఎప్పుడు చేస్తుంది? ఈ కండిషన్ సాటిస్ఫై అయితేనే చేస్తుంది అన్నట్టు. అది హార్డ్ మర్జ్ ఏంది? ఇట్ ఇస్ నాట్ చెకింగ్ ఎనీ కండిషన్, స్ట్రేట్ అవే ఇట్ ఇస్ పర్ఫార్మింగ్ మర్జింగ్. ఓకే బస్. Okay, boss. Next we have something called forced merge. Next we have something called what? Forced merge. Now when you say forced merge, it is a manual command you give it to say do merging. But generally what happens? System will have to execute a lot of processes, right? Sometimes my system might be busy running other operations and your merging process is kept on hold. Okay, but if you feel that your merging process is really critical, it should not be kept on hold, then you will say what? Forced. When you say perform forced merging, even though my system is busy, it has to keep all other work aside and do my merging first. First, I'm increasing the priority of my merging process. That is like forced merge. Hard ante normal merging istane merging chestundi. Forced endi merging eppudu chestundi? System ki busy unna kuda man daniki highest preference ichi chestundi. Idi forced. Smart merge, as soon as you issue token, it perform merging only if it satisfies smart merge decision functions. Next is memory merge. See, generally what happens is whenever you're looking at main store, delta store, actually whenever you perform merging on this table, perform a delta merge on a table, let's say the table is not in memory, table is let's say in the disk, and you select the table and say perform delta merge. So first this table is loaded to main memory, it loads into main memory. During delta merging, it will load the table into main memory, perform all this main and delta, all these delta merging operations. After that, it sends the data, it puts the data back to what? Disk. Okay. If I say memory merge, it load the table into main memory and perform merging in the main memory. It does not write back to the disk. It will write data when the next actual save point comes in. We know about save point, right? Save point means what? From memory, we are writing back to disk. Now, when you say memory merge, first of all, the table is loaded to, whenever you do merging, the table must be loaded into main memory. Then it performs merging in main memory. After this, it has write back the changes to the disk bus. If you say memory merge, immediately it will not write back the changes to disk. It does perform merging only in main memory only. During the next save point, the data of this table will be returned back to what? To the disk bus. So memory merge ante memory lone jarugutundi, main memory lo varke reflection does. It does not reflect the changes to disk bus. And during the next save point, the changes are written back to what? Disk. Adi memory merge. Okay. So see, mainly we will be interested only on these types. Okay. We don't have to worry so much into the dark. This is more of admin document, but still, now you're asking me which one will I use. Now I have so much of options like where I can associate my system to do merging, or I can do manually triggering the merging. Yeah. I would say I will go with smart merge bus. Or how do we choose whether I go with smart merge, or I would go with hard merge, or I would go with auto merge in point? Let's say, look at the point. Let's say I have a table bus. I'm inserting a lot of records into this table. During the time of loading data into this table, if you do merging, it will affect my loading performance. Let's say I have a table and you're trying to insert a lot of data into this table. During the insert operations, if the merging is triggered, it will affect the performance of the insert. It will not stop, but it will slow down my insert operations. Okay. Imagine a situation like this. I have a cube in BW, but the underlying table of cube is what? column store table. It will also have main and delta. Let's say the column store table of my cube, which is the backend, is enabled for auto merge bus. And you've triggered a DTP to load lot of data into this cube. Okay. After loading 1 lakh, you're loading 10 million records. After loading 1 lakh records, it is set. You enable auto merge, right? After loading 1 lakh records, the merge log will be scanning always. After you loaded 1 lakh records, let's say merge log has identified this table for auto merge, then what happens? Immediately auto merge is triggered. Even during the loading process, the auto merge was triggered, so obviously the data load the time taken to load this data will be longer. That will affect my loading performance. So my point of interest would be what? Let me load all the 10 million, then trigger merging bus. Then what will you do? You will switch off auto merge on the table. Then let me run the DTP and load all the records into the queue. Then trigger merging bus. If I want to decide when I want to trigger merging, then I should go with manual or automatic process. Manual. Now once I trigger manual, if I say manual, I trigger merging, it does merging. That is what? Hard merge. But say even though there is one record in delta store, I don't want to do merging this. If I issue a token, but it actually should do merging only when there is really makes sense. So what I'll do, the making sense logic, I'll put that into smart merge decision function, and I'll trigger a merging on this table saying what? Smart merge on. So I issue a token on the after loading all the 10 million data into the table, I'll say perform merging, but it does merging only when that condition is satisfied. So considering these facts, can I prefer smart merge bus? Okay, boss, yeah.
Sir, if you want.
1 second, boss. See, in the decision, there's a lot of abbreviations like DMS, DCC, all this. You can understand. DMS is what Delta Memory Storage. MM is main resident storage. Table merge delay. You can get to see. This is not your game, but this gives you a syntax. Suppose the manual triggering merging is done with SQL, right? For SQL, what is syntax? You say, look at this. You use a parameter like smart merge on until it becomes smart merge. Smart merge off until it is not a smart merge. Forced merge on until forced merge out. Memory merge on until that becomes what? Memory merge. For BW, look at this. For PSA, what delta merge is automatically performed. For master data, we are using auto merge. Okay. For advanced DSO, write down all this, we will be preferring smart merge. See, for ODSs, delta merge is automatically performed during activation process. For advanced DSO, again the same way. For write automated DSO, you don't have activation process. So in DTP, you have option called perform merging. So that performs which one? Smart merge. Same with HANA optimized cube, you will say what? Smart. This is important. Fine, merge types, A update, A merge type, what choose.
It's only smart merge.
Preferably, I will go with smart merge if it is BW, cube or this. For master data, it is auto merge because we don't have any process of triggering merging after the BW master data loading. For PSA also, auto merge. Active. Within activation process, it does the merging, so you cannot control to be triggering manually. Since the activation process of ODS will trigger merging, you cannot control when to trigger merging. So that is auto merge. But when it comes to cube or right on DSO, you can go with what? Smart merge. Because after running DTP, you can explicitly control when to run the merging.
When we do this merging, functions or any process?
We'll do like that one. In the process, now you have a process type called delta merge. But now, see, now we are not focused on how to trigger the merging, but we are only focused to learn now, while creating a table, how do I switch on the property of auto merge, yes or no. When we get on to DML statement, data manipulation statements, we will discuss about how to write SQL statement for performing merging. But for now, we are just saying how do we decide whether merging should be enabled or not. See, look at this. You take this table. If you create the table like this with option as what? No auto merge ante, you're disabling auto merge, so you should take care about triggering the merging. You know about the auto merge. Now by default auto merge is enabled, because even in UI you don't specify anything. By default auto merge is enabled on it. Okay. But if you want to control it, then you will say what? No auto. If you say no auto merge, then auto merge is disabled. If you say auto merge is enabled. Okay. Now I say no auto merge bus. Then what does it mean? I've created some table where the merging is not enabled. Yeah. See, in the systems there will be a table called tables. Okay. దీంట్లో మొత్తం detailed information you can know whether this table is been enabled for auto merge or not, or what it is. Is logged, is a system table. Look at this. Is it, what is it? Is column table? If it is column, what type of table is it? Column. Yeah. And then the global, is it logged or not? Yes, logging is available. Children, what is this? What it is temporary false, and it's a what? Not a temporary table. Ikkada you should have a column. Auto merge node ఉంటుంది.
లెఫ్ట్ సైడ్ కి ఉంది సార్.
ఇది ఆడ ఉంటుంది. Session type is memory, is table type convert.
Auto merge and false.
Yes, sir. Auto merge false.
Yeah.
Auto merge false.
Now here it tells me whether auto merge has been false. Yeah. If you create the same table saying with option as what? Auto merge. Then what? It says what?
True.
Auto merge is true. So which tells me, if you see this table properties, then
So no need to mention auto merge, right, sir? By default, it will create auto merge.
we'll see one second. This says true. Now you want to see by if I don't specify anything, okay. See, by default, it is switched on the merge bus. Okay. So see, while creating table, we are able to control whether the auto merge should be enabled or not. So if I have a requirement like this, say someone has already created a table, they have basically switched off the auto merge. Now I wanted to alter the table and enable the merging. Initially, let's say the table was created with saying no merge bus, no auto merge. Then later I would like to change the definition of the table to enable auto merge. Then I can use alter statement. Okay. I can use it something like, say, for this table we said no auto merge bus, right? So it will be false now, right? It says false. Now I would like to alter this table definition so that I would like to enable auto merge by altering this table. So I can say alter table. We'll see that later, but alter tables. So also enable auto merge. Enable auto. That's one word it takes. Say enable auto. Now if I go see the information of this table, it should tell me what. Now it says true. So even by using alter statement at a later point of time, once the table is created, if, if you want to enable it, you say enable. At the same to enable it TCL, you will say what? Disable. So now we are not performing merging. We are only just enabling the property on a table whether auto merge should be enabled or not. If auto merge is disabled, we have to take care about triggering the merging. If auto merge is enabled, system will take care about merging. Okay. We'll get on to the options of performing merging types later. Yeah. For now, if you want to practice merging, you can do this. You insert some tables. Yeah. You take some table, insert some data. Then when you right click, you have option. What is this here? Perform. In the hard done. Okay.
Hello, one question, sir. Hello.
Okay.
Sir, you are specifying smart merge with the DB size, right? So if you declare that one, that is specific to particular cube, or it will...
No, it is global. Smart merge, whatever the decision function is specifying for auto merge or smart merge, that is for entire system, not for table.
Okay. So and one more thing, in memory merge, you are telling that the entire operations will done on memory, not in DB side, right?
In all the cases, merging is actually done in memory only. Let's say you merge some table. First, the table is loaded to main memory. Then the merging process is done in main memory because HANA will process data in main memory, right? So it actually loads the table data into main memory first and then does the merging. After merging, it has to reflect the change back to the disk immediately or not. Is smart merge. In every case of normal merging, after doing merging in memory, it writes the data back changes to what? To the disk immediately. But if it is memory merge, it will only do merging in memory and keep it ready. During the next save point, it does saving. It does not want waste time in writing data to the database.
Okay. So in all merging operations, whatever initially you shown, right, the main one and main two and delta one. And
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And one more thing, sir, you explained the tables, right? Creating global temporary table and local temporary. So you have no option to create global table. So in which way you can see the data, everyone like that?
No. Everyone
data and structure.
See, if you create normal column table, what will happen? Everyone can see table structure. Everyone can see data. That's all. Yeah. అలా వద్దనే కదా దానికి వెళ్తాండి.
Okay, fine.
There's a point here which tells you it is important to understand even if a column store table is unloaded. Unloaded means what? The table is not there in main memory, or partial load means only some columns are in memory. The whole table will be loaded into main memory in order to perform what? Delta merge. Entire table will be loaded. So he is not specifying any merge type. Whenever you do merging, the entire table is loaded to main memory and then merging is performed. Okay. Next option was unload priority was. Even here, what you know about loading and unloading? Loading means what? Loading the table from disk to main memory. Unloading means what? Unloading data from main memory. Removing data from main memory. Here we are not loading or unloading. That is data manipulation. We are only focused on something called, while creating a table, I can set up something called unload priority. What is unload priority? Unload priority, look at this. What do you mean by unloading? Removing data from main memory. Okay. The priority can be from 0 to 9. Okay. See, let's say your memory is like say 100 GB. Yeah. There will be some point of time where the memory, when you keep filling data into main memory, there will be some point of time where the memory gets filled. Yes or no? So when the memory is getting filled, there should be some mechanism of unloading it also, like cache. Yes. So now let's say I have main memory which is filled in with say 20 tables. How do I know which table should be unloaded first? Right. So further we can specify the unload priority. So unload priority will range from 0 to 9. The more the higher the number it is, it has to get unloaded first, earlier. Unload priority can range from 0 to 9 bus. Higher the number, it has to get unloaded from the table earlier first. Until let's say now the table is, now the memory is completely filled. First it will find the tables which has got highest priority, unload priority. Let's say there are tables with 9, first that will be unloaded. Even then it's still not able to satisfy the memory requirement, then it will again find out the next table with next highest priority with let's say 8. Those tables will be unloaded automatically by the system. So when you're creating a table, I would like to configure the unload priority. And higher the number, it will be unloaded earlier, and lower the number, it will be in main memory for longer time. Okay, boss. This the syntax. You just say unload. Unload priority. I'm giving it a 0, but I can give it any number ranging from 0 to 9. I would say 7. So what happens? 7. Default is 5. Default it takes 5. For normal your cubes, days all it takes 5. So unload priority is specifies priority which table should be unloaded earlier from the memory.
9, 8, 7.
First 900 tables వెళ్ళిపోతే next 8 తర్వాత 7. Descending order. Okay, boss. You're not unloading now. We are only setting up the priority that it has to get unloaded. So, okay.
So this is unloading data from main memory to?
No, we are not unloading. We are only setting up a priority on this table, saying when the memory is filled, whether this table should be unloaded early first or later. Ante. Inka man unloading cheyale. Loading and unloading are separate logic. Like you say load this table, you say unload this table. That's a very concept. That is DML. As part of DDL, I'm only dealing with setting up the priority for the table. I'm not unloading or I'm not loading this table. ఈ టేబుల్ ఒకవేళ మెమరీలోకి లోడ్ అయితే మెమరీ ఫిల్ అయినప్పుడు ఇది ఫస్ట్ అన్లోడ్ కావాలా వద్దా అని చెప్పడం వరకే ఇది. ఇప్పుడు అన్లోడ్ కానీ లోడ్ కానీ చేయలేదు. ఓకే,
అంటే డిస్క్ లో ఉన్న డేటాని మర్జ్ తర్వాత అన్లోడ్ చేయడానికా? ఇది ఐఎమ్ నాట్ గెటింగ్ దిస్ కాంటెక్స్ట్.
See, actually, if you want to load a table, you'll say load and then you'll have to specify this table. Then if you say this, then what? The table is loaded to main memory. You say what? Unload, and you'll write this table. Say, this table is unloaded from main memory. This is for loading data into main memory. This is for unloading data from main memory. Okay. This is a different kind. You're forcefully loading or unloading, or you can also right click on the table. You have option load into main memory, unload into from main memory. Right. Manually, you're manipulating the data either to be loaded into main memory or remove it from main memory. Now this is
No, he's asked.
What is
no, what his question is?
Yeah.
Main memory నుంచి disk కి load చేసేదా అని అడుగుతున్నారు.
Unloading means the data is dropped in main memory. That's all. It does not bring anything back to disk. కాదన్నా. See, this is disk, okay? This main memory, okay? Your RAM. So I have T1 with 100 records. Now when you say load, then what happens? The table 1 with 100 records are loaded to main memory. Now when you say unload, మళ్ళీ ఇక్కడ రైట్ చేసేది ఏముంది, రైట్ చేసేది ఏం లేదు. అది సేవ్ పాయింట్ రైటింగ్ అంటే. This data is dropped. You can say unload is nothing but like dropping data from main memory bus. That's it. You got this now. Now you understand what is load and unload. Now what I'm saying is, let's say your main memory is, let's say 64 GB is your main memory bus, and you have loaded because you run a lot of select statements and lot of tables have been filled into main memory, and now main memory is filled. Okay. Actually what happens is, when you say load, the table gets into main memory, unload main memory will వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. But even if you don't load, if you run a select statement on a table, during first fetch it will load into main memory. I have table 7 now, but you have not loaded anything. It is in where? In the disk. But you are executing a select statement against table 7. During first read or during first fetch on the table 1, it will load this also into what? You don't have to say load. During first fetch, it will load that into main memory. Like this, when it keeps doing like this, at some point of time, your memory gets filled. Let's say now it is trying to put T7 table into main memory, but there is no space available. T7 ni memory పెట్టాలని చూస్తాను, space లేదు. So automatically it has to unload some tables and create a space for T1. Which table should be unloaded? The tables with the highest unload priority will be unloaded first. So automatically it finds the table. Let's say table 6 is with highest unload priority as say 9. So this table data is deleted, and then checks if that space is enough for T1, then it will put T1 and then moves it. So unload priority will tell you which tables have to be unloaded first when the memory is getting completely filled or used up. Okay, boss?
Disk loan data, it's not on HANA, it's on normal RDBMS disk, antena?
మొత్తం అంత HANA server అంత HANA అన్న. See, HANA will have two store, the memory and data volume. I told you, no. Generally, you feel it as RAM. Every read is from main memory, but every write is to the main memory and to the disk. I told you, right? If you write to the disk, there's no data persistency at all. Every read is from main memory, but every write is to the RAM and to the disk also. It will write the changes to the disk, and then from there, during save point, it will write the changes to the disk also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a question here.
Yeah.
So in this example, what is the save point functionality, and how exactly we can define save point functionality?
Say for example, now let's say T7 has got 5 records. Yeah. Then you start doing something on the table. Then this table got loaded to what? Main memory, 5 records. Okay. Now through insert statements, you have written insert 1 record. Now this 1 record will be there only in main memory. It does not have that in the disk bus, right? But whatever the 1 record you inserted, it maintains a log in the log volume, saying that this 1 record was inserted. They would have configured save point saying every 5 minutes. So after every 5 minutes, then whatever the changes in main memory are written to what? Disk. Now disk will start getting 6 records. This will have what? 6 records. Again, you insert 1 more record. Let's say 1 more. During next 5 minutes, again there will be 1 more save point, which will write this 7 records to what? To the disk. That is save point. Save point is about saving changes from main memory to disk. Now my point was, say within the next 5 minutes, let's again you create 1 more record. Now it becomes what? 7 plus 1. Let's say you lose. Then let's say there is a power loss, and before the execution of save point in the next 5 minutes, we have lost power, or let's say the data in the main memory is lost. Now the disk still says 7, but you're still missing 1 record. What is created? For every time they're creating, there will be a log saying log 1 or some kind of log it maintains. Now when you switch on the server, when you load again, this table gets loaded here, and then it re-executes this log and brings what? That is called a save point and data person. I discussed this. Yeah. Yeah. See, the confusion is not about this. Only thing is when you explicitly say load, the tables are loaded into main memory. When you say unload, the data is cleaned out from the main memory. Okay.
Disk ante
Disk ante hard disk.
hard disk. Okay. It's not RAM.
This RAM. Main memory ante RAM.
Yeah, that's
This RAM, this hard disk. ఈ లాగ్ వాల్యూమ్ కూడా ఇంకో హార్డ్ డిస్క్, 2 హార్డ్ డిస్క్లు ఉంటాయి. 1 disk is for data, 1 disk is for log. Okay.
Okay, cool.
And see, here we are only specifying the priority of the when it has to be unloaded. Okay. Okay, so we'll stop it here, and tomorrow we'll have to get into or creating how do we do partition on the table. Simple. You can go. You don't have to wait for me. See, you have a table, right? Let's say you want to do some partitioning on a table. You can right click on the schema. Then you have an option called what is here? Show table distribution, and select any of the table and say right click. I would like to say what? Partition table. Then last key on hash partitioning or range partitioning. You can just try to get through the screen, so you'll know how to do partitioning. You do partitioning with UI, or we can also do partitioning with SQL also, and we'll have multi-level partitioning also. And create one set of partition. Now within that partitions, you can for each sub partition you can create multiple sub parts again, like that. Yeah. Delete this number.
Hello.
See, he is asking, there's a table you deleted data, then I want to get it back. At lame. Any like this is not any other application. To delete data, you have to reload data. It's like automatically you cannot recover. Correct. There might be a special case. Let's say you have some data in that table. You've taken a backup of that, some export of the database. You delete it. Now you want to get the database back what it was before that. Then you can re-import that from the backup, restore from the backup. That option you can do, but automatic command worth table records happen.
Hello, sir.
With the data, if you've taken a backup, you can restore that backup. That you can do. Yeah, what is it? Yeah.
Sir, so you mentioned that one merge for with smart data with DB hit, that will set by as a developer, or a developer having access to set that one?
This is all the admin guy. Okay, see, they'll tell you. What the point if you're a developer, don't read this document. Okay, this is mainly for admin person, but still I want to make you merging with thing okay, na? This is only for making you understand how the merging is happening in the backend. This is all backend logic. You're trying to understand the system programming, backend logic of how he is handling it. Okay, na? నేను కూడా ఎందుకు చదివినానంటే దీని గురించి ఎక్కువ ఈ లాగ్స్ అది. See, there is a requirement in our project. We are including data warehousing. So what we are extracting data from different source and loading into warehouse, and then we are doing reporting. So what he's saying in his reporting requirements, he said in the data warehouse reporting he said cleaning. Cleaning ante manaki em arthamuthundi. There's some invalid data. We'll write some logic in transformations and modify. When he says cleansing, he wants you to show him the report, or you want to change the data in the tables as per his requirements. As per the business requirements, they want to change the data in the tables in the backend warehouse database. Then we told him this is not the way to be done. You have to change the record in the source. Then we'll reload so that the record will go and overwrite. Since we don't have the permissions to change in the OLTP system, we are implementing data. Otherwise, we don't implement them. Since we don't have authorizations to change the data in the source system, we would like to do changes in warehouse and see how the reports looks like. So if you're not allowing us change, then don't implement this product. So now the problem is, let's say we have staging layer, transformation layer, and consolidation layer. we are allowing him to change the table entries in transformation layer. Okay. So for all, now the problem is, okay, he's done a lot of changes. Now again, let's say there is some changes in the core structures where we have to delete data in consolidation layer, transformation layer, staging layer. Again, we have to reload from source. What will happen to the changes? What is done? It's been a take. We have lost. So what is my requirement? Whatever the changes they are doing manually, I should capture that as an audit log, and then whenever I reload all the data from the source, I need to re-execute these logs again back to get the data what status what it was before. Same SAP అనేవాడు లోపల సిస్టంలో ఏం లాజిక్ రాస్తున్నాడో ఆ లాజిక్ ని ఎత్తుకోవాలా ఆ లాజిక్ చదివిన అంతే. This is not for you. I just wanted to know how he was trying to implement that logic in the back end of HANA database. అది ఇన్ మెమరీ కాదు కానీ అలాంటి లాజిక్ కి నేను కస్టమ్ I want my application to implement the same kind of logic, so we was going through that. బట్ నీకు ఓన్లీ మర్జింగ్ అనేది ఒకటి ఉంటుంది అంతవరకే. వాడు ఎట్లా చేస్తున్నాడు టేబుల్ పోతుంది అంత అవసరం లేదండి. దట్ ఈస్ ఆల్ ఇంటర్నల్ లాజిక్. ఓకే, బట్ ఫర్ యూ షుడ్ అండర్స్టాండ్ ద టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ మర్జింగ్, స్మార్ట్ మర్జ్, హార్డ్ మర్జ్, పోస్ట్ మర్జ్. యా, how do you know for each user what are the privileges assigned? Yeah, you can see here, no? If you can just open the user, you can just open some user and see what privileges are assigned. Only privileges, and under each you will see the privilege. Object privileges will give you the privileges on the schema objects, table, views. Analytical privilege అనేది this is something like your analysis operations in BW. Like say row level security. Let's say there is a view, you want to control the data only for country US to one user. That is what analytical privilege is. Then you got package privilege. I told you all the HANA modeling content is organized by packages, right? So you want to control that this user will have this package, this user will have this package. Then when you want to control that privilege, then it will be packages. Then application privileges. And in this HANA application, he can't do this, he can do this. So when you want to control operations or application use, you can use this. Yeah. So if there's no question, we'll stop now. So tomorrow we'll start discussing other options. Fine, most thanks.
I have a question on that loading and unloading, sir.
Yeah.
That if you are unloading based on the priority number, okay, then if the report is expecting this table to be utilized, then how it will be possible?
See whether the table data is in main memory or in the disk, it will still give you data for reporting, no problem. Only thing is you will see some difference in the performance. Otherwise, there is no issue. Whether my table is in disk or in main memory, the data is still available for reporting, but no problem. Let's say the table is in disk, it is not in main memory. During the first fetch, it will read data from the disk and load into main memory and then give it to you. That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sir, I have one more question.
Yeah.
Sir, you say like HANA is a in-memory concept, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's just a little bit doubt on my head.
Yeah.
So when I'm going to write the data from main memory to disk,
Yeah.
So am I optimizing my data functionality, or how exactly it's working?
Actually, yours is in-memory database, right?
Yeah.
So when you say in-memory database, what happens? Your RAM is volatile. If you try to store data only in main memory and the server is down suddenly, all the data is lost.
Yes.
So how do you now any database you build in, it has to satisfy property of durability. Durability means if I insert data into the database until I delete, it has to be permanently stored. Then if you're dealing with in-memory database where it is storing data only in main memory, how do you guarantee me durability? How do you guarantee me 100% data persistency? Because even now customers are not believing, okay, with having so much of backup also. So what they've done is, ultimately, if you want to store data permanently with non-volatile, you have to store that in the disk, in the hard disk. So that's what it does. Whether it writes asynchronously or asynchronously, whatever the data which we have in the RAM, it will write that to the disk. So every insert operation, it write it to the main memory and to the disk, whether it is synchronously or asynchronously. And every read operation will be from main memory if the table is in main memory. If the table is not in RAM, during the first fetch of the table, it loads the table into main memory and then reads it from there.
So when you're referring the main memory, you are talking about RAM.
Yeah, main memory and
So,
hard disk content, hard disk.
yeah. So when the table is not there in the main memory, the it's going to check the table, respective table to the disk, right?
No, let's say there is no your required table is not there in the main memory, and you're running a select report. Then it goes there. It doesn't find that in the main memory. Then you're fetching this table, right? It goes to the disk, reads this table content, places this table content in main memory, and from main memory it will read the data for you in the report, like cache.
Okay. So in this process, there will be no delay in time and.
Obviously, if you feel that the report is really critical, the performance is low, before the system loads it at the runtime, you can explicitly use a load statement, load it and keep it ready and load it in memory, right? You also have option saying load into main memory explicitly. Before the query is run, you can explicitly load the table also into main memory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. One live example. What about for stock movement repeat?
What about
Daily stock movement report, inventory.
Okay.
So in this situation, we need to do historical that particular stock day-to-day activity, right? We need to look into.
So,
So
see, you don't
so
really
we
bother
have
whether the table is in the disk or main memory. You just treat it as normal table. This is all internal mechanism of system handling it. You don't have to worry. So don't make it complex for yourself. Just make sure it's a table. That's it. You're not bothered whether it is in main memory or in the table. It's all played by the system in the back end. Yeah.
Sir, one last question, sir, for today.
Bro, if since memory non-code keywords are it's all table. Don't worry on that. Yeah. It is the same as table.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, one question, sir.
Yeah, please.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Sir, suppose whenever we are performing unload a table from the main memory, do we have to perform some checks, sir? What exactly I mean is, suppose here we are inserting a record in a particular table, and that particular table is available only in the main memory.
Yeah.
And the save point is not yet reached.
Okay.
And we perform some unload activity.
Yeah.
There is a probability like we are going to miss that particular record.
No, don't worry. You'll not miss because the new records what has been written, it will have a log in the log volume, right? That will take care.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
One small confirmation. Like when we are creating a schema, we create it through SQL script, right?
Yeah.
Can we create the schema using UI?
Generally, there's nothing like UI straight away to create that, but there is an other concept of lifecycle manager where you can create some project that gives you
And
generally లేదన్నా స్కీమ్ అని మామూలు SQL తోనే చేస్తాం అన్నట్టు.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, we can stop now or any other questions?
సార్ మనం ట్రైనింగ్ చేసుకునే దానికి ఏమన్నా ఇస్తారా అంటే ప్రాజెక్ట్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ అంటే ఈ స్కీమా క్రియేట్ చేయండి టేబుల్ క్రియేట్ చేయండి
ఇది ఇంకా బేసిక్ చెప్తున్నాను కదా
ట్యూటోరియల్
మోడలింగ్ సినారీలోకి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు ఐ విల్ టేక్ వన్ స్పెసిఫిక్ స్కీమా విత్ సమ్ సెట్ ఆఫ్ టేబుల్స్ విచ్ ఎవ్రీవన్ ఆఫ్ us will have the same tables.
ఓకే సార్
ఇప్పుడు these notepads I will send. I'll send this notepad files.
Sir, one more thing that first two classes we have discussed with some PPTs. So, but we didn't get any PPTs from you.
I'll send that because that's a very big PPT. After finishing the topic, I'll send that. You want it before? I can send it. No problem.
Sir, please, that is for reference.
Yeah, I'll do that. So
Okay,
I'll send this
thank
notepad files and that PDF. And yesterday you could download that PDF, right? SQL scripting, so you have that. So I'll send that.
Yes, sir.
And these notepad files. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, can I have your number?
Yeah, you call this number, no, I'm there, right?
Uh, which number? Sir? I don't have any contact number of yours.
You can call this number and ask for me. You can reach me there. Yeah.
So what will be the good time,
Hello?
sir? I mean,
Sir, can we expect these recordings, I mean, after 2 sessions? I mean, it's because if we get them weekly, it becomes a hassle for us.
Okay.
I mean, will it be okay from your side?
Yeah, that is okay. I'll talk to them today. So I'll try asking them to send for every 2 days or 3 days. Yeah, I'll ask them 2 days.
Yeah, else it becomes a log and we are unable to practice as well. So,
Okay, ma, no problem. I'll
will
ask
be
them to
on
send
time.
for every
Okay.
2 days. No issues. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
Tell me, boss. Yeah.
Yeah. So yesterday you have shown in SCN site how to download that SQL
Yeah.
statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you please show it once?
Go to this help.sap.com. Okay.
Okay.
Get into this technology platform. Yeah.
Okay.
And HANA platform. Then HANA platform core. Then you'll have references. SAP HANA SQL and systems view reference. Just click on this PDF. That's all.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Meet tomorrow. Fine. Thanks.